I want to get the Bible real quick. Let me get this verse. It's actually two verses. I want, and I'll read these two real quick. To basically answer your question. Ecclesiastes 11:7.
All right, let me get to that right quick.
Well, actually, it's in the. Are you familiar with the? The King James 11 apocrypha?
Yes, I am familiar with it, but
Yeah, it's actually in the. It's actually this particular verse is actually in the King
but
James 11 apocrypha. If you have it, I don't know if you just want to listen along. It's up to you.
I can pull it up just for the sake
Okay.
of conversation, but I don't. That's not part of my canon, and so
That's fine. We could. That's another topic. Maybe we could talk
yeah,
about that later.
yeah.
But I
But
want to get this
for the sake
scripture
of
though.
conversation, I'll pull it up. I know what you're
Hmm?
talking about. All right,
Okay, cool.
so you it's Sirach what?
Sirach 11 and verse 7.
All right,
You want me to read it?
I'm pulling it up right quick.
Okay.
What was it again? I'm sorry, Sirach what?
Sirach 11 and 7.
All right, Sirach 11 and 7. All right.
Yeah,
All right,
Sirach 11 and 7. Okay, so Sirach 11 and 7 says, "Blame not before thou hast examined the truth. Understand first, and then rebuke." So, like I was saying, and just like any court of law, before you can cast a judgment on death, right? Even before inmates are given the death penalty, they have to go to trial and be examined and be judged according to the accusations of their crime. That wasn't done here. Unfortunately, the man is dead, so he cannot speak up for himself if he was wrong or if he was right. And that's the point of trial. He was supposed to be brought to trial. Now, I know we brought up the video of him running, and I actually want to show that clip. Can people see me or they just see you?
they see you.
Okay. I did definitely want to show that clip. If everybody can see, because if we examine like the scriptures say, then we can examine all the proof and evidence that we have. We can see that they were chasing this man armed. There was actually a truck ahead of him, and there was a vehicle following behind him as he ran. And I think somebody was standing on the truck bed, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. I'm playing the video right now. I'm going to show the video. If Yeah, so he's running. I'm looking at the video. Let me see if I could turn
Okay,
the
quick question.
video.
Quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
The video's gonna take us further down in the conversation,
Well,
but my
yeah,
question
I just
was
was answering the question. The question basically answering it was we have to examine the matter before it could be a judgment that is proceeded, which this didn't happen in this case.
no. That's not what I asked you. I asked you in the case of Ahmad because you brought up the point that there was other people that went in the house too, and and they weren't caught, they weren't reported as trespassing, they weren't followed or anything like that. And my question was, in the case of Ahmad, does it matter that the other people that did the same thing, the same evil as him, didn't get caught, but he did? Does it matter regarding him?
Yeah, it does.
Did he get followed because he was where he wasn't supposed to be, or just because he was black? I guess.
Well, that's the point. We will have to examine the matter to see why he was there in the first place. All we have is assumptions. That's the reason why I brought the scripture out, because all we have is assumptions. Now, there were multiple individuals that came in the house. Nobody examined the matter of why they were there or even questioned the matter of why they were there. Um, Obviously, it is some type of racially motivation because all of the other people prior, I think there was one other black kid too, but all the other people prior were Caucasian.
Now,
So
can I ask you
the
a
point of
question? Hold on,
let
but
me answer. Let me answer your question real quick. So the
okay.
point is for us to justify and be justifiable in trying to say he committed a crime. We cannot say that because, for one, there was no crime committed according to the owner, and he's not alive for us to examine the matter, which we should have did. We should have been able to hold trial to see why he was there instead of him being dead.
Okay, that's where the misunderstanding would come in at, because there was a crime committed. The homeowner denied that he took anything. The homeowner didn't deny he didn't commit a crime. The homeowner said he didn't take anything. That's different. So the crime that he committed wasn't about whether or not he took anything or not. The crime was the trespassing, going where you don't belong. You're in someone else's home, looking around for whatever reason you want to give, but he's where he don't belong. It's an under construction site, which by law those are already no trespassing places. That's why I said the other people who did the same evil as him. And that's for liability reasons, for the company and for the homeowner. If somebody went on that house being constructed, touched something, the house collapsed on them or something, and there's no trespassing sign or something to guard the company or the homeowner, then they will be liable for those people's deaths. But by law, under construction property or renovated properties are no trespassing places for that very case, so that nobody gets injured on the property that ain't supposed to be working on it, and so that the company or the homeowner is not reliable for anybody's death or injuries. So he was where he was not supposed to be. The crime was trespassing. That's very minimum. That's what he did. Mm-hmm. Now they're trying to say whether or not what he did, and because of the state of the house, whether it's considered, burglary, which would be a felony or not. But he was already in the midst of a crime. That was already that's bare minimum. Nobody's arguing about that.
So that's the point. That's the point. We have video surveillance, and we have the owner that even admitted to seeing multiple individuals other than himself come on his property, and he didn't feel threatened enough to call the proper authorities.
I agree.
This is from the homeowner's own personal statements.
I agree, but
now wait, hold on, wait. No, I didn't get the point. I listened to you.
Is that trespassing, and you say you're going to school for law. I'm pretty sure they're going to tell you this. Is that trespassing, or whether or not somebody's guilty of trespassing, isn't based upon whether somebody felt threatened or not.
This is the point. I want you to listen to me very clearly, because I listened to you. I really did. I don't think you listened to me. The point is this: we have video surveillance, right? Okay. Let's say the trespassing situation.
Okay.
Well, that's why the scripture I just pulled out said, examine the matter first, then rebuke. What should have happened was he should have been examined. The homeowner, it's his property. It's nobody else's property. Okay. It's the homeowner's property. The homeowner put the videos up for himself, not for other people. Actually, people called the homeowner, neighbors called the homeowner, and the homeowner felt no ill will, no threatened matter in any of it, even the prior Caucasians that went on the property. With that being said, if you commit a crime, let's say he trespassed. If you commit a trespassing crime against my home and I say I don't want to press charges, then the charges are dropped. It's not up to you to say, well, no, I'm going to take it in my own hands and then kill a person. That's the point. The point is he should have been examined first. He should have been brought to the proper authorities, and it should have been a trial, not a chase down, which I want to show this video, and a murder.
All right.
According to the Bible and according to American laws.
Okay. Well, all right. So, all right, here's the thing. According to the Bible, at least what you read so far, they are not guilty of any of those things you read. Not in Exodus 22, not in Sirach, because they weren't they weren't prosecuting him or making a judgment as far as his penalty goes. They followed him so they could keep, eyes on where he is while they were calling 911. They stopped in front of him. They had to pass around him, obviously, because they were behind him at first.
There were two.
So they passed around him.
It was two cars.
I understand it was two cars, but the other car was catching up to it. I'm talking about the Michaels.
Yeah, the other car was way ahead of him.
The Michaels had to pass him because the direction that Ahmad ran was past their house, and they started behind him. So they had to get in front of him to be at that stop sign already to meet him. So they had to pass him at some point. So some words or exchange or something had to be done. We can only assume at that point, in between the point when they got in their truck to the point they're at the stop sign. We know they passed him. We know that much. So
no, they followed him.
So they passed him because they were once behind him, now they're in front of him, waiting on him. So they passed. So it's common sense. The brother this is their house. The brother went flying down the street. Whoosh. They seen him jumped in their truck. They're behind him. But the scene that we got, they're at a stop sign parked already out their truck waiting on him. So they had to pass him. especially when you go to Google Earth and look at the streets and how it's built. They had to pass them. So the point is that
they cut him off. Yeah, I agree with you. They cut him off.
Cut him off means, you know, he has no.
And then somebody was on top of the truck with their gun pointing out.
Can't argue that. But the point is this. The point is this. They followed him. Yes, they did. People say they shouldn't have. I guess they shouldn't have. I guess if they hadn't known all this was going to happen. But did they break any laws by following him? If they didn't, we can feel like they shouldn't have done it. But did they lawfully do what they did? If they did, then they're not guilty for following him. So we can't stay on that point. So when they had guns, when they followed him, did they break any laws by having their guns on them? And I know in Georgia it's an open carry state. That's why I got my license at when I lived in Georgia. It's an open carry. It's an open carry state. So they not breaking no laws by having their guns on them while they're following him. So we could feel like they shouldn't have followed him and they shouldn't have followed him with guns, but they lawfully followed him and they lawfully had guns. So we can't argue about that. So because they didn't break no laws with that. They didn't break no laws in America's law like you keep bringing up. With the altercation that took place when they were trying to do a citizen's arrest, we can argue whether or not we like it or not, but it is law in America. So it is allowed under certain circumstances. So were they lawfully doing that? The answer so far, at least by the evidence given in all the people, is that they lawfully had reasonable suspicion, according to the law statute, to follow him, to try to do a citizen's arrest. The argument comes in that with the altercation that led to the brother getting shot when they started fighting over the gun. Now they're arguing over who has the right of self-defense to protect them. Is it Ahmad with the narrative that he feared for his life, so self-defense, or Ahmad attacking the man with the gun and therefore the man with the gun has the right of self-defense? That's what they're going to argue in court. But according to America's law, so far they haven't broken anything.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. So in regards to God's law, what you read in Sirach, where were we? 11 and verse 7, it says, blame not before thou hast examined the truth, understand first, and then rebuke or correct. So obviously this is a rule set for judges or anybody making a judgment upon a person or correcting them for what they've done.
So
hold on, bro. It said examine the truth. The 911 calls that came in, they didn't react off of hearsay. They said that they saw him. We can argue whether they really saw him or not, but they said they saw him in the house. And then they saw him running. And then they got in the truck and followed him. So they, at least by their account, is a first eyewitness to what they're witnessing. So they don't have to insinuate or based not upon truth that a person is where they're not supposed to be, unjustly follow him. They saw him with their eyes, knew it's not his place, recognized him from past videos that the homeowner shared in the community thing, which has already come out. They shared it in the community thing. So that's how the neighbors knew about this stuff that's going on. So shared it in the thing, they recognized him, saw he was in the place again where he wasn't supposed to be. And so they had reasonable suspicion based upon the evil that was being done that this guy was up to no good. So they followed him, calling 911. So at least by law wise, they haven't broken anything yet. And so let's move on. They weren't they weren't passing judgment.
No.
As Sirach says, don't do.
I'll let you speak. I wasn't finished because you kind of went off. And I want to allow myself to be able to clear a lot of stuff that you said up.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. The first thing is this, like I said earlier. We have video surveillance.
Oh, we can't see.
Oh, wait, hold on. My bad. Hold on. Can you guys see me now?
Yeah.
Can they see me now? Okay, my bad. I was. So the point of the matter is we have video surveillance of him on the property. Let's say that we even said that it is some form of trespassing, right? Trespassing doesn't equal up to death. Okay, that's the first thing. So with that being said, the whole argument is thrown out the window right there, right? If we can both, you agree that trespassing doesn't equate to death, right?
Yeah, it's not a crime punishable by death. No.
Right. Okay. And his death sentence was he got killed. So without being examined. Wait, hold on. I'll let you speak. Hold on. So the point that I am making, and I have the video here also of them chasing him down in the vehicle,
I'll put it on
is that there was, you can put it on the screen. The point that I'm making is that when he went on the property, okay, there were multiple individuals that the authorities were not called, right, who went on the property. Okay, that point's neither here and there. When he left the property, let's say the authorities are called. Okay, the authorities are called.
Right.
At that point, you let the authorities deal with it. Even if they chose to say, we're following the suspect, you still don't engage the suspect, because if you want to play the video, you can play it. I know you have it up right here. You can see that they engaged the suspect, okay? And if you want to say the suspect fought back, well, I think any of us would fight back if anybody was chasing us with guns out. So you can play the video. I know you're playing it right now.
No problem.
So you see, I don't know if you can pause it, because I mean, I want to kind of narrate it. I don't know if you can pause it when I say pause or whatnot. You can go back a little bit.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. So the first thing we see is that we see a car pursuing him. Correct? We both see a car pursuing him. We see the truck is already parked. So that means that these people, and you can see he's in the street running. He's in the middle of the street. He's not, and this is why I would say he's not jogging, because he's in the middle of the street running. He's not on the grass or anything like that, and he doesn't have any running gear on. So I never said that he was jogging, right? But we can see that clearly he's been pursued in some type of fashion, because we have two vehicles, one in the front and we have one in the back, right? One that has already stopped to corner him and one that's coming up behind him. Now, if you play the video. Yes, yeah, there you go. That's cool. Okay, we see him driving. We see the video. We see him try to dash out the way. That's letting you know he's running from them. He tries to dash out the way of the truck. Keep going. Keep going. If you can go, like, yeah, you could just kind of just pause it. Right. Keep going. There, right there. Pause it. We see somebody on top of the truck, which appears to be pointing a weapon on top of the vehicle. And that is his father. I believe that is the father pointing the weapon. So the weapon is already drawn.
Where?
Okay, that's the father's on top of the truck. He's in the truck bed, pointing a weapon.
Where do you see a weapon pointed?
Do you see his shoulders raised?
He's on the phone.
No. Do you see his shoulders raised?
Which shoulder?
Because the father also shot. There were multiple shots. There were shotgun shells found in him, and there was other weapon shells found on him. So the father was armed as well. You see the father on the truck bed?
Yeah, I see the father. I'm asking about the weapon point. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, let's agree to disagree, because we're going to keep going back and forth on a point that's really irrelevant. We know the father had a gun, correct?
Yeah, we know he had a gun.
Okay.
He was
okay. So based off of the posturing of his shoulders, you can clearly see that he's aiming something. Both of his shoulders are raised. You can clearly see both of his shoulders are raised. Unless we're looking at two different pictures. I see his elbow up on one, and I'll see his other shoulder is raised in a hunching position. Yeah, keep going. Come on.
I wonder if I could do slow motion or something. All right, let's see.
Yeah, I hope. Keep going.
See, there's his right arm. It's down.
Well, just play the video through. We'll be able to get a clearer picture, because I know it's okay. So then that goes to Aubrey. Okay.
See?
Okay. Hold on.
How far you want me to go?
No. I mean, you can. I mean, it's kind of hard because I know you're controlling it. But the point that I'm making is 2 points that I wanted to address with you. Is the first point is that the trespassing doesn't warrant a death. The second point is that they were following him or chasing him. All right. And the third point is they shouldn't have engaged. They should have allowed the proper authorities to engage. And they were planning to act in some type of retaliation because they had guns ready for the young brother. And the young brother was not allowed to be given the proper trial. That's simply what I am saying, and I feel the rest of the world feels. He should have been given the proper trial instead of being gunned down in the street with no weapon on him.
Okay, go ahead.
According to Exodus 22, which you said had nothing to do with it, it has everything to do with it.
Okay.
And I'll read it for the new viewers that probably came on. And then I hope once I let you expound, we can get into some more scriptures that you said the Bible doesn't speak about self-defense or whatever the case may be. When you read Exodus 22:2, it says a thief be found breaking up. Now, we went over this already, but I'm going to do it again. So if a thief is found disrupting in some type of form or fashion, we already know the form of fashion that he's disrupting is he's murdering. Okay. It says, and be smitten that he die. And he be smitten that he die. So I gave the analogy sort of like if a burglar comes in your house and it's nighttime or something of that fashion, or if the burglar has a weapon on him and you take his life, it says there shall no blood be shed for him. So there'll be no blood shed for him. Okay. Verse 3 says, if the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood shed for him, for he should make a full restitution. If he have nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. So the point is that if the sun be risen on him, whether you want to take it literally or whether you want to take it figuratively, as far as he is caught, he is supposed to, and he doesn't, in proper examination, that's why I brought out the other scripture, proper examination is given, and he doesn't have a weapon on him. He doesn't have any proof that he was going to harm anybody or anything of that matter. The situation examined, but he's still dead, then that means blood is still supposed to be shed for him, regardless, meaning that the person that killed him is still responsible for that bloodshed, and there has to be some type of judgment because there was an unlawful murder according to the Bible. Now, whether you want to say, well, he didn't steal nothing, he was just trespassing. Well, you said it yourself. Trespassing doesn't warrant a death. Regardless if you want to say, well, that scripture doesn't apply because he didn't steal nothing. Well, like we both agree, he still should have been able to stay alive to have a trial, a proper trial. And I'll say this last point.
Right.
There is no law, right? As far as with assumption of theft, right? A citizen's arrest cannot be made with an assumption of theft or with trespassing.
All right, so that's interpretation of the law, wherever, of course, my word has no bearing on the case, obviously. So the lawyers will argue that out, but the statute was read. As long as they had reasonable suspicion based off their own account or firsthand knowledge, then they're lawfully able to try to do a citizen's arrest to hold the person there until the authorities come. So that's why, though people are arguing that they shouldn't have followed him,
they shouldn't have killed him, not followed him. They shouldn't have killed him, like you said.
Well,
you said it earlier.
What I said, what I said was, and this is why I'm talking about the parsing of what's going on here, is that the crime he did commit doesn't warrant death. It's not a death penalty offense. So in terms of somebody who's to ask me, do he deserve to die, men court wise, according to the law of America, do he deserve to die for trespassing? The answer would be no.
Then that's all we saying. So, that's all we saying.
I ain't arguing against that. My point is,
that's all we saying.
My point is he didn't get killed for that. And so that's the part that people are not grasping. So now let me go back to that video, because you painted a scene that was inaccurate, and the proof is actually in the video. That's why I kept asking you how far you wanted me to go.
Play the whole video.
You said, I'm gonna put it back on right quick. You had said that the father, both his shoulders was raised, and that he was already pointing his gun at Ahmad. I'm not arguing whether or not any
or had his gun on his person ready to be fired.
Well, having a gun on your person is different than having a gun pointed at somebody. So
that's premeditated.
No.
That's premeditated.
No,
he had his gun ready.
And
yes, you know what premeditated means, right?
Yes, a matter of intent. You have to prove that their intention was to murder.
They had guns out.
Literally having a gun on you or having it out doesn't prove you have premeditated murder.
Well, what is a gun for?
Defense or offense. So you're saying it was for offense,
because they had it out before Aubrey engaged in the son. The son already had his weapon out.
I agree with that, but that's not breaking the law.
That's premeditated. That's a premeditated action.
Carry.
But that's a premeditated action.
Hold on. The only thing premeditated about the action is he pre-thought to have his gun out. He didn't point at anybody, and it's not breaking the law to have your gun out like that.
No, the shotgun was already pointed. That's why Aubrey tried to grab it.
But you don't see that.
No, play the video.
Okay, we can, but okay.
Yeah, play the video.
I'm gonna put the video up right now. So let's look at the first thing first. All right, about the whole shoulders thing and dad premeditating to murder. You have to prove that. You can't make an assumption of that. So hold on, let me share my screen right quick. All right, so here's the video again. Let me back up a little bit here before the fight. All right, let's go back to the corner when the man comes back, or when the man comes into the view. All right, because he's far back. He got to catch up. So he's coming around the corner. I wish there was a slow way. All right, he's coming around the corner. You guys can't see. That's in your way. Let's do this. When it comes back into view, Ahmad is already left. Look at where the sun is already. And Ahmad coming towards him. Not away from him, but he's going left towards him. Then he bolts right. Not because the gun's pointed at him, because there was no gun pointed at him at this point. He bolts right. We would have to assume, everybody assume, oh, he's trying to get away and de-escalate.
How do you know it's no gun pointed at him in this angle? We don't see anything, but he's running right.
The clip we just saw with the sun standing outside the truck, and when he was running left, you can see the sun. All right.
Go back.
All right.
You can see the sun. I can't see the sun. You can't. How do you see him with? You just see his feet. You see his black body, a black shadow.
Yeah, you see a black body. Hold on, I'm trying to get this thing out the way.
Yeah, you see. You don't see. You don't even see his face.
I know you don't see his face. What I'm trying to point out is not his face, neither his body, but the point that there is no weapon from this angle pointed at him.
How would you be able to see? We don't even see him.
Okay, I'm gonna say this again. That's my same question I'm gonna ask you about the father. All right, so hold on. He bolts right. And freeze. Father's hand is down, not pointing a gun at him. His shoulder's down. The only shoulder up is him on the phone. Now let's keep looking. His arm is still down, not up pointing a gun at him like you said. The fight already started and his father's hand is still down. The gun is down here, not pointed at Arbury. He ain't pointing over the truck or anything. His arm is down. The fight already starts. The fight has started. His father still didn't get his arm up yet because it's about to show him fumble with his phone to get his gun in his hand. They're fighting. He's still on the phone. Arm still down. Puts the phone down. Then grabs his gun. Then points. So the point is that according to the video, all right, this premeditated scenario you're trying to point out with the father on the back of the truck will be thrown out and false because according to the video footage, frame by frame, his arm was down the whole time, all the way up to his son and or his father, whoever, over on the side with Ahmad out of frame, fighting for like at least 5 seconds already over the gun before he ever even gets his gun in his hand to shoot. So we know, at least for the one on the back of the truck, there was no gun pointed at Ahmad before Ahmad got there, and there was no gun pointed at Ahmad when he was on the right side of the truck. Neither when Ahmad was on the front of the truck, neither 5 seconds into the fight was he pointing a gun at him. So we can at least say here, from this point, because nobody sees nothing until this happens. That's when we see them struggling. So for anybody to say the guy had a shotgun pointed at Ahmad already, they would be assuming, all right? They would have been assuming because you can't see that.
So according to the video, let me ask you a question.
All right, go ahead.
So according to the video, because we see that the father still had his gun out, it was on his person out.
Yes.
According to the video, right? At what point, as fast as Ahmad and as fast as this 1 minute situation happened, and he grabbed how fast, because the only door that's open is the left side, which is the driver's side of the door, which is obviously where the son got out, right? Okay. So at what point did the son go back and grab his gun from out of the left driver's side of the door? Did he exactly right? Okay, that's what. Wait. That's what I wanted. Wait, hold on.
Okay,
that's the point. The point is he got out with the gun. You said earlier he had no gun when you seen the shadow, right?
That's not what I said.
No. Wait, hold on.
Hold on, bro.
Hold on. Let me just finish this point.
You can't finish a point that's accurate. Hold on,
bro.
You did.
You paused it.
Listen real close. I'm about to repeat it again, and I'll rewind the tape. Believe me.
Go ahead.
I didn't say he didn't have a gun. I said he didn't have a gun pointed at him from the angle that we saw. That's what I said.
Okay, and what I said was, I want you to listen now. What I said was the fact that they chased him down with guns ready to be fired, okay? that means it was a premeditated situation. The father had a gun on his person, ready, safety off, ready to be fired. And the son got out of the vehicle from them chasing, because the narrative you tried to paint earlier was they weren't even chasing him. From them chasing him, that's what you said earlier.
I said they followed him. I said that pretty clear.
Wait, you said they drove past him as to follow him, but not chase him. I said they were chasing him.
They were following him. They had to pass him, but they were in front of him now.
Okay, so now you agree. Okay, we all agree on that now. So the point is, when the son got out of the driver's seat, the son had a gun on him.
Yes.
Ahmad didn't have any weapon on him. Okay.
Now
according to stand your ground laws, right? If we're going to say that theft doesn't warrant death and a person pulled out a gun on him, he had every right to fight against somebody that came out of a vehicle with a gun ready to be fired at him or held him hostage with a weapon. So with that being said, no, it won't fall, because that's why they're in jail right now and in custody right now, because obviously it is arguments that's going on that they have to talk about, that is legal, legitimate arguments. Okay. So with that being said, the fact that they got out of vehicle with guns ready to be fired, premeditated, the clip is full. That is a premeditated situation, that they were ready to kill the brother that had no weapon. Like you said earlier, case closed. He did not deserve to die, period, for theft. They should have allowed, watch this, if there was no gun, no harm. I could see if he had a gun and he shot up the neighborhood. There was no gun found on him. He didn't shoot up the neighborhood. He just went on a property. They should have just called the authorities and said, we see another person on the property. Here he is right here. And even if they followed him, watch this. I'm not even arguing that they followed him.
Okay.
Even if they followed him, they shouldn't have hopped out to engage with guns drawn.
And that's the
they
problem.
They engaged him.
You're arguing what they shouldn't have done.
According to the law.
It doesn't. Well, according to the law, they had a right to do that.
Not engage him. Not engage him. Yes. They didn't have a right to engage him.
If they were going to make a citizen's arrest, they by law can engage the person. That's part of the arrest. So you're arguing what they shouldn't have done. And I mean, I wouldn't have done it personally if this was me in the shoes. I wouldn't have followed him. I wouldn't have gone out there. Anything bad could happen. I wouldn't have gone. I would have stayed home with my family. So, but the point is that they followed him. Did they lawfully follow him? If the answer is yes, then nobody need to argue whether or not they shouldn't have followed him, because they had the option to, and it was lawfully. Could they, by law, have weapons on them? In Georgia, yes. So nobody can argue they shouldn't have came with guns, because they lawfully can come with guns. Should they have engaged him? We can argue whether or not they should have, but lawfully can they? And if they can lawfully, then it doesn't matter if we feel like they shouldn't have, because they did, and lawfully they could. So it doesn't matter what we feel. The point is what the law allows. And so that's what they're going to argue, not what they should have done. And so they're going to argue, well, this is what they did. Could they have done what they did? And could they have done it legally? Can they have guns out? Yes. Could they have guns loaded? Yes, because it's open carry state. Can they perform citizen's arrest under certain guidelines? Yes. Can they follow somebody that they suspect of crime? Yes. Can they engage the person they suspect of crime? Yes. We could feel they shouldn't have or have that right or whatever, but they got it and they did it. So the point is that did they break any laws by making the decision that they did? The problem is going to come in at, because we can't see the angle, is who engaged who in the sense of this gun struggle. Did the man point the gun at Ahmad? Or did the man have the gun in his hand? And when Ahmad came to attack him, he didn't put the gun up. That's what they're going to argue. We can't, the lawyers are talking about there's more videos from other angles and stuff, but we haven't seen it. So until they bring it out, then we'll know for sure. But the point is that this isn't an argument what they should have done. And anybody who watched the video, Ahmad didn't get killed for jogging. He didn't get killed for trespassing. That's not why he got killed. He didn't get shot for those reasons. He got shot while fighting over a gun. That's why he got shot. We can assume, I can say, hey, if he didn't fight over the gun, he wouldn't have got shot. Would he? I don't know. Reality took place and not my thoughts. So I don't know. Maybe had he just not ran in a fight, maybe he would have been alive.
Can we look at some?
I don't know.
Okay, I hear you. I hear you. Can we look at some laws dealing with citizens arrest?
Well, that's fine, but let me show the other video. I wanted to show the clip before the
okay, and then I want to read these laws.
All right.
Okay.
No problem. All right. All right. Give me a quick second. And then after we read those laws, let's go to the teachings of Christ. Because this is supposed to be from a Christian mindset that we processing all of this through. Not really, you're going to school for a lawyer, being a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. And so, me and you arguing over ain't really going.
Now I'm just gonna bring up the law of what you said was absolutely wrong about them having guns. You can't have a gun in that fashion to pursue somebody for a citizen's arrest. And I want to read that to you.
No problem. All right.
Okay.
All right. So let me share my screen again.
And then when you, I do want to get to the scriptures too, because you said the scriptures don't tell you to defend yourself. So I wanted to get that too. I don't want to forget that.
It's not what I said earlier. I was talking about rebellious slaves.
Well, you could justify whatever you want. I did want to bring out some scriptures though.
The scriptures to justify rebellious slaves. That's the
okay. Yeah, that's what I wanted to bring out in the scriptures. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Got you.
Right.
Got you. Yeah.
All right. So this is y'all probably already seen this before, but I'm just showing it for conversation. All right. Did I play it yet? Okay. Actually, let me fast forward. 25:30, I think it was. Let's get a long video this guy did. So that's when the cop went by. So that was afterwards. All right. I'm just backing up to this timestamp, guys. 25, I think it was 25:30. Let's see. All right, there he is. All right, top right screen. Did I play? All right. All right, he's walking down the street, walking through this yard of a house that he allegedly on video a house that he visits multiple times. He stops in the street. Stops in the yard, looks around. Then he does a little speed walk into the garage, all right, to a house that's not his. That's already right there suspicion, if anybody saw it.
That's trespassing. We said that.
All right, cool. So he goes in the house. I know everybody's like, he only been there 3 minutes. He didn't take nothing. But you're also noticing about right there, he comes out of the garage, not to jog, but to then walk around the back of the house. All right. We only know he entered back into the house because he doesn't come back in front of the house, but the front door. All right. After the neighbor comes out. All right. Let me just fast forward a little bit because at least 40 seconds pass before the neighbor comes out. All right. So the neighbor, when he comes out, he's already on the phone. There he is with the police saying what he said, seeing what he saw. Ahmad comes out the front door. Right. Hold on. Because they're going to do this little speed chipmunk thing right there. Right there. Comes out the front door. So we know he went back into the house from the back. Front door, sees that man cross the street, takes off running. Like how you said, he wasn't jogging, he was running. All right. Nobody's chasing him at this point. So why are you running? All right. So we know why he was running. But the point is that he was running. I don't know if this video showed it because I think they cut the loop off at that point. But if they let the video keep playing, a couple of seconds after that, or maybe a minute, whatever, you see Michael's white truck pull out their yard and go up the road where he was running. That's why I said, when you look at a Google map, all right, just so brothers and sisters can see right quick. Let me just throw this address in right quick. All right. Show you this map right quick.
I'm still trying to figure out how this is right for him to be killed on the street.
We're not dealing with the killed yet. We're dealing with what got him followed. All right, so
I think we know. I think we know that. I think because the people even saying they know that. We know that. I think we know that. We know why he
Okay.
got fired. We know why he got
Yeah,
fired.
I know, and the reasons why vary. And you guys tend to take the he black. That's why you got
No.
fired.
Let's take this conversation.
But
I said he was followed because I would say I agree with you on that. Maybe they called the cops and they felt suspicious with that. The point that I'm telling you is that the man didn't have to lose his life. Why did the man have to lose his life? And we can clearly see it was a premeditated situation where they had guns ready on the brother to lose his life. And I wanted to read some laws on citizens arrest that they did not do correctly.
All right, cool. So he runs down the road this direction because he ended up getting killed at this intersection. Then Michael's house is, let's say, about 2 houses down from 219 or 220 Cecilia Drive. So they pull out. He's already run up the street. They're behind him. So they had to pass him because there's no other street to turn on. All right. And when they was in that intersection, they weren't facing towards him with the front of the truck. So they didn't come down this way and cut him off. They had to pass him. So that's why I was talking about they were ahead of him and all that kind of stuff. So that happens. All right. So he got followed because of his own evil and their suspicion of him doing evil. Now, they're following him. Did they break any law by doing it? They're going to argue that. And at least so far, they didn't break the laws by following him. People just arguing what they should have done. That's beyond the point. So now they followed him. Now you said it's premeditated murder. They went out there with guns drawn, ready to kill him. Now that's the point that I said you're going to have a hard time proving because them having guns on them and even in their hands is not out of the ordinary. Neither is it against the law because of it being an open carry state. They don't lose their right regarding the open carry just because they're going to do a citizen's arrest. And the proof of that is a similar situation that happened with a black man that performed a citizen's arrest with his gun with a carjacker that had no gun. So they don't lose that right. And it was in Georgia. So they followed him. All right. Then they went around him and stopped at the stop sign and waited for him to get up there. Then that's when we come in with the video. We see him running towards the man to the left, and then he bolts to the right and then takes a hard left. And that's when we see the struggle taking place over the gun while the man backing up and taking punches to the face. So now in regards to meditate, because you first painted the picture that the father had his gun pointed at him, and you said that was premeditated murder. So we went back over it to show he did not have his arm ported. You falsely assumed, and even with the evidence in front of you, you still falsely assumed. So that means you didn't look intently enough at the video. So his arm was down the whole time until they were off frame. Then he struggled his gun in his hand. You can argue he was taking the safety off because of how he was fumbling. If it was already ready to go, throw the phone down, boom. But he saw him doing like this. So you can argue he was engaging his safety off. So then that would also go against your intent to kill the person, being that you're engaging a person with a gun in your hand, but you got the safety on. So we're going to assume that, but we know he fumbled with his gun before he put it up, pointed out. So with that being the case, go ahead and read the statute that you want to read.
Okay,
or the law
that's
regarding
perfect.
citizen arrest.
Okay, now I'm gonna skip because it's a lot of them. It says this is one of them. It says to be eligible to make a citizen's arrest for a crime or on or in retaliation to property. So I went to the how to make a citizen's arrest according to property. Okay. It says you must be one of the following. The owner of the property. That's check one, strike one. They were not the owner of the property. In lawful possession of the property. They were not in lawful possession of the property. That's strike two. Or have been authorized by the owner or the person in lawful possession of the property. According to these three guidelines dealing specifically with property to make a citizen's arrest, all three of the qualifications for them to be able to even make a citizen's arrest, they fit none of them. In fact, the owner said that he felt not threatened with multiple instances of people going on his property. And the owner did not, from the owner's statements of so far what we have, the owner did not give them the right to go pursue him and make a citizen's arrest. So now we can throw citizen's arrest out the window.
You can't.
Yeah, no, we can't. Because according to the law,
because you just
no,
said,
wait, hold on. Listen,
you only read one statute, bro.
Wait,
You can't throw the whole thing.
wait, listen. No, this is dealing with property. They followed him because of what? He was on somebody else's property. So the point that I'm making, and just like you said, trespassing. So the point that I'm making is, according to trespassing laws or any type of damage or anything dealing with somebody's property, the only way you can make a citizen's arrest, brother, is if you're the owner of the property, in lawful possession of the property, or have been authorized by the owner or the person in lawful possession of the property. This is why I said to you earlier that the only reason for any crime to be committed is if the owner pressed charges against that brother. And the owner didn't press charges against that brother. So without the owner's consent, the best thing that they could have did was just call the police, make another report. That was the best they could have did. According to citizens, no, we're going with the law. We're not. The whole law. You only read hold on. We can read the whole thing too. I just went to the property because he was followed. Wait, what? Listen. I don't dance around. I go to the point. There's many various different laws. There's a whole bunch of laws. I want to deal strictly with the law that's going to be pulled out in court as to if this was a citizen's arrest or not. And the reason for them following him was because he was on the property. You yourself just pulled out a video showing him on the property, saying he wasn't supposed to be where he was supposed to be. But if that's the case and I choose to agree with you, okay, Khan, I agree with you on that. But lawfully, the two individuals that went to so-called do a citizen's arrest, according to the law, they're not responsible to do a citizen's arrest unless the person of the that's the owner of the property gives them authorization to, or they have some type of legal contract with the property, or like if they're paying a lease or paying a rent, right? A rent to own situation, or if the owner of the property is the one that's pursuing the person for a citizen's arrest. Now, if you want to read some more things dealing with a citizen's arrest, we can. I'll read this. There's also a warning that comes with citizen's arrest. A citizen's arrest is a very serious and potentially dangerous undertaking. Unlike a police officer, private citizens are neither tasked with the duty to preserve and maintain public peace, nor properly trained to apprehend suspect criminals. Exercise extreme caution when attempting to make a citizen's arrest. Because if I continue to read, there's laws. Let me read this.
Why are you pulling it up?
Because let me read this. Hold on.
What you just read showed.
Hold on.
And obviously, you can make a citizen's arrest. The statute that you read was just one part of it, because there's another statute regarding citizen's arrest in Georgia. And it literally, in Georgia, the law states that a private person may arrest someone if a crime is committed in his presence or within his immediate knowledge.
Go to the exactly. No, I'm reading with you, but the point is, listen to me. There's different laws. There's various different degrees of laws dealing with the types of citizen's arrest. So, for example, that's why I went to the point of citizen's arrest of dealing with some type of being a suspect dealing with a crime, dealing with property. There's three laws. Okay, and then I wanted to read. Wait, hold on. And then I wanted to read. Hold on. I didn't interrupt you. I didn't interrupt you.
But you have. But
no, I haven't. I let you talk the whole time.
The point is that regarding the statute, because obviously
regarding the law.
Yeah, okay. Regarding the law, you only gonna read one part of it, only lean towards one side of it. Obviously, I'm gonna read the other part and say that they were justified in attempting to do a citizen's arrest, which is why they didn't go to jail when the thing first happened. But
no, that's not true.
Okay, well, that's based off people's assumptions, but
that's based off the law.
According to the DAs and the people that first investigated, they didn't break no laws by trying to do a citizen's arrest. So.
We just read the law. We're not talking about people who investigated. We reading the law.
Brother, I'm talking about citizens arrest, private citizens making arrests. So the point is that it's something that's commonly done. It is something that can be lawfully done. I'm not, that law is vast. It has many statutes. You're going to only lean to one part because you want to act as if they can't do the citizen arrest because
brother.
they're not a property owner. But
brother, listen to me.
Hold on, you don't have to be a property owner to make a citizen's arrest.
When you're arresting a form of property, some type of property damage or some type of disrespect according to property with the law, there's guidelines on how to make a citizen's arrest, bro. Listen to me.
If you
the law, look, listen, I'm gonna read
at a mall.
You're arguing it not against me now. You're arguing against the law. Look, the law requires that when making.
I'm not arguing that statute.
Let's read. Listen.
That's my point. All right, let's just look. Let's do this. We're going to statute because we're just going to read two parts of the law for citizen's arrest. You're going to lean the one and say they can't do it. I'm going to read the other one and say they can. So obviously we're not going to agree.
No.
So let's.
We gotta.
Let's move on.
Let's do this. Wait, not yet. Let me ask you this question. I want you to answer this question.
Go ahead.
Why were they making a citizen's arrest? Because of what?
Because they had first immediate knowledge of the crime being committed. And
what was the crime being committed? What was
the trespassing and possible burglary.
Of what?
Of you mean of what?
Of property.
Yes, of property. Yeah.
Okay. Let's stop right there. Let's slow down. Now, the narrative is property. So there's many different laws dealing with a citizen's arrest. So what we have to do is go down the subcodes and the laws, and we have to see, okay, how do you make a proper citizen's arrest dealing with property? No. There's laws on different types of citizen's arrest. Like you just said, the type of citizen's arrest they made, they didn't arrest him for murder. They didn't hold him for bashing somebody in or killing somebody or beating somebody. They arrested him for violating somebody's property, which we all know that. You just pulled out video surveillance. This is what they're arguing in court. According to the law, citizen's arrest will be thrown out because according to make a proper citizen's arrest with property, you have to be A, the homeowner, B, a proper possessor of the property, or C, you have to have the permission by the homeowner to make that arrest. Now, here's warnings dealing because they don't require you or recommend you do citizen's arrest because of all of the things that can go wrong with it. It says the law requires that when making a citizen's arrest, the arrested individual must be delivered to a police officer without delay. If you make a citizen's arrest and do not call the police as soon as possible, the arrest might be ruled illegal and you could face criminal, civil or criminal consequences. So when these brothers, wait, watch this. So these brothers clearly, they knew something dealing with the laws of citizen's arrest. But what they failed to understand was in order to make a citizen's arrest dealing with the assumption of some type of property damage, theft on a property, you have to have those three guidelines. So it's not we're going to different parts of the law. That would be stupid. That would mean that we're contradicting the law, and that doesn't make sense. What I'm saying is this. I'm agreeing with you. But what I'm saying is to make a proper citizen's arrest dealing with property, because that's what we're talking about. That's the context of what we're talking about. You have to be one of those three people, period. And that's the law.
Okay. All right. Listen. At least according to what we know right now, there was no property found on his person. All right.
Why did they chase him?
Because they saw him. And they
where? On who? Where? Where did they?
You mean they saw it in his neighborhood, in the house?
Why? Because he was on the what? You just brought the video out. He was on what?
And he already had prior problems with this guy and others. So,
but he was on the property, right?
He was on a property, trespassing. Right. Yeah.
So did the homeowner tell them to follow him?
You don't know that? I don't know that.
The homeowner didn't say that. He said he didn't feel threatened at all.
We do know this.
He got a statement.
The homeowner, though, acting like he ain't concerned.
He acted like he ain't concerned.
He shared the videos on their neighborhood app. And he shared the videos on his neighborhood app, so obviously he was concerned.
What did the homeowner say though? What do we have?
The point is he didn't keep it privately. He exposed the things that were going on in the neighborhood. He had conversations with police and was in conversation with the police.
What verbal statement do we have with the homeowner though? What verbal statement?
We have text messages. The homeowners changed up the story. That's why he about to get hemmed up if he don't get right. So the point is that he's changing his story up.
Did the homeowner tell them to pursue him for citizen's arrest?
Once again, I don't know that. You don't know that. And according to the law, which we're going to disagree with.
What we do know
is that they are lawfully able to do a citizen's arrest based upon firsthand knowledge, a reasonable suspicion of what was going on. So, I mean, you can disagree and we can argue back and forth about it, but that's why I said they're going to argue that.
It's the law. It's the law. You don't want to deal with the law.
That's fine. But the point is that you read on in the statute about when the person, what's supposed to happen. Let's say they did make this arrest based on property and they were the homeowner and blah, 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 blah. And they either keep the person alive and let them get to the proper officials, right, to be judged. My point is that the point that they're going to be arguing, the whole point about this argument here is whether or not, all right, that the Michaels was in a self-defense situation when the altercation began. Who initiated the offense that took place that led to the death? No one can say them at the stop sign, all right, is what initiated the thing that happened to bring about his death, because he was still alive. And no one shot him while he was still in that predicament. No one pointed, at least from the angle we can see from the man with the shotgun, we can't see him point a gun at him. And we definitely know by the angle that the father didn't point nothing at him. All right, so we at least know the one on the back of the truck ain't pointing no gun at him. We at least know that much. So it comes down to really if the guy with the shotgun pointed at him. They're going to be arguing whether or not it was self-defense on the part of the man who had the gun or self-defense on the part of Ahmad Arbury, which because of the angle, it's not clear. All right, that's why everybody is saying they murdered. That's why they haven't been convicted of murder, because there's no evidence yet. That's why it's got to be played out. You can't argue it was premeditated murder simply because they had guns on them, because it's an open carry state. You can't say it's premeditated murder because they had the guns out when Ahmad Arbury got there, because by 911 call and by past encounters, all right, plus the other body cam footage that they're pulling out, this is not a man who is not, he's known to have weapons on him at some times. And he's known to be hostile against authorities. And one of the people that engaged him was somebody who probably dealt with him. So he know him a little bit better than me and you know him.
So they were making a citizen's arrest?
So my point is that the fact that they had guns doesn't mean it's premeditated murder. The fact that they followed him doesn't mean it was premeditated murder. We can feel that way, but you got to prove that kind of
Were they making a citizen's arrest?
Well, that's what they say they were doing. And
right. So according to the law,
according to other laws, they were justified to attempt to do it. The problem is that the use of force to do it is where
wait, hold on. So you're going to literally negate the law specifically dealing with making a citizen's arrest with somebody that's trespassing on the property. You're going to literally negate that law?
I'm not negating. I'm telling you there's another statute that covers them. That's what I'm telling you.
Wait, hold on. No, it doesn't, because it doesn't cover property. We're dealing with
property. From that point, that's why I said they're played out in court.
That citizen's arrest is thrown out.
I read the law. That's what you said.
Let's play it out right now. If right now,
I'm not clearing out with you right now. We don't agree.
No.
Let's go on.
We have a law, literally.
What Christ said to do. Let's deal with
I want to get to that.
Bro, we don't agree with the law. We read two parts of it.
So there's a contradiction in the law.
It's not. So I'm not changing from that. So there's no reason
contradicting. So he wasn't, but they weren't making a citizen's arrest according to him going on the property then.
I'm telling you, they made a citizen's arrest based on another statute that covers them about firsthand knowledge and reasonable suspicion of a crime.
Was the reason because he was on the property though?
It doesn't matter. That's the point I'm telling you.
So it doesn't matter that they made a citizen's arrest because of he was on the property and he shouldn't have been there, like you said.
Listen,
that doesn't matter.
There are two statutes.
Property?
Hold on. You're arguing from one. I'm arguing from the other. We don't agree. You said it'll be thrown out. I said it's not. I said they're going to argue that in court, which they actually in reality are. So with that being the case, we're not going to agree with that point. Let's just go ahead and move on.
Okay,
let's move Rebellious Slaves.
But I want to move on. I'll ask you this one last question, and I want to move on. And this is just an honest question. So we pulled out the law dealing with citizen's arrest. I just want to see if you understand what makes a lawful citizen's arrest according to property. So you do agree that you have to be the owner of the property. You have the property has to be in your lawful possession, and you have to be authorized by the owner to make a citizen's arrest dealing with trespassing of property. You agree with that? Yes or no?
I agree with the statute that you read according to the scenario that was given, but I'm telling you, based on what happened, there's another statute that comes into play. You can't just stay on that one you're reading. There's another one that also is read that lawyers are also arguing. And that's why I said they're going to argue in court regarding it. So
but no, I didn't ask you that.
I'm not arguing against or for your point.
Wait, we're talking. Wait, we're not. Wait. Listen,
I heard what you said. Did you hear what I said? Do you agree?
No, listen. No, listen.
I agree.
What I'm saying
with
is
what you read. Do you agree with the statute I read?
Wait. No, I told you earlier I did.
All
And
right,
I
then.
also
Wait,
hold on. No. I also said that we have to go through because there's different scenarios on how to make a citizen's arrest.
I'm not going through with you because you're not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. They know statutes that we don't.
We reading the statute.
I'm just listen, but you don't know how to parse through it. That's what I'm saying. Just like the evidence,
just
like the video was in your face, and you pointed premeditated murder and said his father was pointing at him when he wasn't. So I'm not arguing
that's subject to interpretation of the video. What? But what I wanted to do is this. Listen, instead of argue, listen.
Hey, let's just move. Hey, let's just.
We're gonna move on.
No, let's move on now.
Look,
let's move on now.
Why you want to move on from this so fast?
No, I can move on. We spent like 25 minutes on it. Let's move on now because we're not going to agree. I heard what you said. You heard what I said. You don't agree with what I said. I agree with what you read. I'm just telling you there's another statute that covers them. So they're going to argue that in court.
Okay. And I was just telling you that there's laws dealing with property arrest. That's all.
I agree.
Proper property arrest.
I'm just saying
they didn't do it correct. If according to what you brought out as far as him being followed because he was on a property wrongfully, according to what you said earlier, they didn't arrest him correctly. That's all I'm saying. Now, if you want to change your statement and what you said or why they, okay, because all I'm saying is this. I agree with what you brought out. All I'm saying is, according to what you said of why they followed him and tried to make a citizen's arrest, according to what you said out of your mouth, that was not right according to the law, because for them to be able to do that, they have to be the owner, a lawful possession of the property, or they have to give authorization by the owner. And that's according to what you said. That's all. That's the reason why I brought it out.
And my reply is there's a statute that covers them, and I'm going to argue that in court. So now let's get to the rebellious slaves thing, because
okay, go ahead.
Like I said in the beginning, I'm going to ask you this again, because when I started the first live, and you had asked, can you come in, and at that time I was like, I'm not arguing about this with unbelievers. If you're a Christian, then I deal with it because we're supposed to process things through a certain lens, which is the mind of Christ. And so with that being the case, you said you was a believer and everything like that. Now, I'll let you on. We started the conversation. When it got broken up, when the situation got broken up, and I told you what was going on Zoom, and I deleted the last video because of the audio problems, which obviously you wouldn't have known at that time, but because I just deleted it after we got off. But you presumed to then not only degrade me, but bear false witness on me before the public regarding why I deleted that video, and you said I was a house nigga. Now,
I called you a house nigga to your face when I first got on, and a coon. Oh, and Uncle Tom.
I appreciate you for being straightforward.
Yeah, definitely.
Here's the thing. This is why I said I was going to argue with somebody who's not a believer. Because somebody who's a believer and a follower of Christ, then you should have conviction of what you said. Do you?
No, I don't.
All right. That answers my question. Because we know that by the teaching of Christ, that filthy speech and degrading and threatening
let's bring out the scriptures.
Like that is ungodly character by someone who follows Christ. So
let's bring out the scriptures.
Wait out there, buddy. Give me a quick second. Go ahead. Keep him out there right quick. All right. I have my suspicions based off the name alone, because it's not common for a Christian to have those type of names. But then when I saw that post,
let me clarify then for you. I follow Christ, so terminology wise, yes, I am a Christian. But if you want me to be more politically correct with you, I am an Israelite according to the Bible.
I figured that. But I'm not really concerned about the identifier right now. We're not having that conversation.
No, we're not. We can have that later if you want to.
My point when I say Christian, and I understand because some people make the argument. There was a time period when those who followed Christ weren't called Christians. It was a name that was coined upon them later on in Antioch. So I understand that there were believers in Christ that then nobody knew them at that time and age as Christians. They were just followers of the way or something like that. So I don't make so when I say Christian, yes, I guess I'm using a politically, correct term, but I don't relegate it to just those who say the word Christian, because I understand, there's many Christians who died in faith, or people that we would today call Christians that during their time weren't called that. So, but my point is when I talk about follow Christ, it's dealing with the character, meaning what comes out of your mouth and your actions. So me and you both say we follow Christ. We both say we believe on Christ. You say you're an Israelite, I'm not an Israelite. So, but we both claim to follow Christ. With that being the case, whether you're an Israelite or you're a Christian, or whatever the case is, and follow Christ, then our conduct and mindset should be the same. So that's why I asked that, because call somebody a house Negro coon and all that kind of stuff is not Christ-like. So now let's deal with the rebellious slaves, because I was talking about like
Nat Turner and be quiet.
I'm talking about like Nat Turner, for example, these different slave revolts that people normally clap hands and congratulate every year during Black History Month as this great thing that took place. Or Harriet Tubman, freeing slaves, and how she said, she, would have freed more had they known they were slaves. All right, these runaways. And so people clap their hand at that, because in one side of it, people looking at it as they were slaves, and they might have been getting treated unjustly by their masters. So they're justified in either revolting, like Nat Turner did, or running to escape, like Harriet Tubman did. And so my point is that, and this is why I said many Black people don't like the Bible, because of what Christ and the apostles taught, is that whether your master is kind and reasonable or cruel to you, you're still to do good. It's an evil thing to run away or rebel and revolt and kill off your masters. That it's an evil thing that takes place. All right. And so I know that some people are going to, like you, especially saying you're an Israelite, and you already said about the Old Testament and people defending their nation, you're probably going to run to a passage where, like, the children of Israel was oppressed by their enemies, and then God sent a command by his prophets to raise up his people, because he said, I'm going to deliver them into your hands. And so now they revolted, you could say, but they were really following commands of God. But following commands of God to fight these wicked, evil people, because God was placing them in their hands. This is why I'm going to tell you that don't apply right now, not to Harriet Tubman, not to Nat Turner, to anybody. You know the reason why we know God wasn't on their side? It's because God didn't deliver their oppressors into their hands. That's why. They stayed oppressed despite what took place. So we know God didn't move them to do this. It was their own hearts that did it, and it was an evil action. And we know God wasn't on the side because God did not lend the people that they say were oppressing them into their hands. So that's why I'm going to tell you the Old Testament passages regarding Israel taking over their enemies is irrelevant to what we're talking about right now, because God was on their side and God gave them that command. God didn't give these people this command. So we're different footing right now. But something that's more important to take into place is that we not under Moses. Now that we under the Old Testament, we're under the New Testament. Now we have to take into consideration what Christ taught, the manner in which Christ came, and what Christ taught us to do when we're being oppressed, what Christ told us to do if we're a slave and have a master that's cruel to us, what Christ said we're to do. And so with that being the case, let's go with what Christ said regarding those that are slaves and have masters, and how they should act, even in that lot that they're in this life. Can we deal with that?
I'm waiting on you. I'm ready.
All right, cool. All right, so let's deal with this. I'll just go to the one that most everybody knows right now. All right. And while I'm pulling it up, let me put this caveat out here. And this is why the apostle said that the judgments of God are unfathomable. It's because those that steal a man is guilty of sin. It's an evil thing to steal a man. If a man sells himself into debt slavery, or some war took place and he's spoiled, or whatever cases, those are different footings. But if you go and steal or take a man, then that is evil. The Bible explicitly talks against that. Now, when we're talking about people who are slaves now, though, you're a slave. All right. And we know this much regarding transatlantic slave trade, is that the narrative that's painted is that they were stolen. The reality is they weren't stolen. They were in the midst of tribal wars and was taken and sold off by other Africans into different people's hands. That's literally what happened. The same thing with the Native Americans over here. I know everybody think the Pilgrims came over and just killed them off and took them as slaves. No, you had natives, tribal wars, swallowing each other up, assimilating each other's tribes, taking over each other's possessions, and then they just got into another fight with Europeans, and then because Europeans had guns and all that kind of stuff, and all they had was arrows and horses, a lot of them got killed. So with that being the case, a lot of them were taken to slavery that way through tribal wars. The other thing that's important to understand is that not all blacks that are over here are not descendants of slaves. All right, they're descendants of slave masters because there were already blacks here that had their hand in selling and buying slaves and had plantations. South Carolina having one of the biggest ones where I grew up at. Native Americans had black slaves. All right, they were they had their hands in selling and buying of slaves. Of course, Europeans and the Portuguese and stuff had their hands in as well. So I want to make sure that the mixing pot of all who had their hands in this is made known. All right. So now let's read about slaves, because that's what a lot of our ancestors, that was the position that they were in. Some of them were in the house, some of them were in the field. All right. Now, if they were Christians, which a lot of them were before the slave trade, which explains their actions when they were in slavery, the apostle said this, the apostle of Christ. Let me put it on the screen so y'all can see it too, for people follow along. And then we can deal with that. I'm trying to make this thing smaller. All right, here we go. All right. All right, I got two passages, one in Ephesians, one here in Colossians. All right. So the apostle says this, because for those that do Christian history, there were people that were Christians during the times of the apostles that were slaves. All right. There was different forms of slavery. This ain't the argument right now. All right. There's debt slavery. There was chattel slavery in Rome and ancient Greece. There were different forms of slavery. All right. The point is that these people were slaves, and they had heard the gospel and believed the gospel. And so the apostle gave them this command. He said, slaves, in all things, obey those who are your masters on earth, not with external service, as those who merely please men, meaning those who, hate their master, don't want to listen to him, but they just, outwardly do the acts. Let me just do what he wants. I can't stand him. But he said, but with sincerity of heart, fearing the Lord, which is to hate evil. Whatever you do, do your work heartily, as for the Lord rather than for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive a reward of the inheritance. It is the Lord Christ whom you serve. For he who does wrong, even as a slave, because that's what he's talking about, who does wrong will receive the consequences of the wrong he has done, and that without partiality. That's the first command we have. The second one, and I actually have one more short one after this in 1 Peter when the Apostle Peter said it. But Ephesians 6 and verse, let's see, hold on, let me get back where I need to go. All right, verse 5 says, slaves, be obedient to those who are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, and in sincerity of heart as to Christ, not by way of eye service, meaning rolling of the eye or an evil eye towards your master, as men pleasers, but as slaves of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart, with good will render service as to the Lord and not to men, knowing that whatever good thing each one does, this he will receive back from the Lord, whether he's a slave or whether he's a free man. And masters, because you had some masters during the time of the apostles who became believers in Christ. And so he told them, and masters, do the same things to them and give up threatening. Don't threaten your servants, but treat them kindly, knowing that both their master, which is God, and your master, which is God, is in heaven, and there is no partiality with him, meaning he will judge the wicked master as well as the wicked slave, and vice versa. And the very last one, not 1 John, sorry, 1 Peter, chapter 2, the apostle says this in verse 18. Actually, I'll start at verse 13. It says, submit yourselves for the Lord's sake to every human institution, whether to a king as the one in authority, or to governors as sent by him, for the punishment of evildoers and the praise of those who do right. For such is the will of God, that by doing right, you may silence the ignorance of foolish men, Act as free men, and do not use your freedom as a covering for evil, but use it as bond slaves of God. Honor all people, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the king. Servants, be submissive to your masters with all respect, not only to those who are good and gentle, but also to those who are unreasonable. Some translations says cruel. For this finds favor if for the sake of conscience towards God, a person bears up under sorrows when suffering unjustly, which many of our foremothers and forefathers did, which today blacks call them coons or house Negroes. For what credit is there if, when you sin and are harshly treated, you endure it with patience? But if when you do what is right and suffer for it, you patiently endure it, this finds favor with God. So I read this to point out the point that I made earlier, that the actions that some of our foremothers and fathers committed, that many people hand clap every year, are actually wicked deeds in the sights of God. Because instead of, if they were innocent and being done unjustly, then the righteous thing to do is to continue to do good, even if it meant suffering for it. Not rebel, not revolt and kill off masters, because you don't repay evil for evil. You overcome evil with good. So that is the basis for my argument that the Bible speaks against rebellious slaves. All right. And many of those people today get hand claps, and those that obey their masters or do what's right despite being treated cruel or being called to whatever by a master or something like that, or called house Negroes or coons today by many people like yourself.
Con, okay. You ready for me to chime in now?
Yeah.
Okay. This is called scripture misappropriation.
Okay.
You have no idea about the scriptures you're reading. And the reason why you have no idea about the scripture you're reading, because you don't have an understanding of the historical context of why the scriptures was written in the way it was written. If I was to ask you, the slaves that he was talking and referencing in these scriptures that you brought out, who were those slaves he was referencing? Could you show me according to the scriptures? Because there's scriptures that tell you the slaves he was talking about.
The slaves that he was talking to the first, I'll say the first degree, and then there's a second degree. The first degree, the people that he was talking to, depending on the time frame they went out, was predominantly the children of Israel and the proselytes that were considered one, because they were under the covenant together. The other ones that are secondary would be the Gentiles that then would hear the gospel, and then that message also went on to them. All right. Okay. So the same rule applied to both, just as is written in law, one law for.
Okay. So okay, I could agree with the latter part as far as and that's a whole nother topic. You know, I don't want to get into who are the real Gentiles or whatnot, but for the sake of the topic, I would say, okay, as far as the Gentiles or the heathens, yes, you're correct in that. They were allowed to be slaves of the Israelites. Now, the reason why you will be off with your understanding, according to the true understanding of the scriptures, is this. First, let's read this. Let's go to Romans. I'm going to read Romans 7:1. Romans 7:1 says, "Know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law, how that the law has dominion over a man as long as he liveth." So in order for you to understand the New Testament, you have to understand Paul's writings for that matter. You have to understand the law, and you have to understand the law that the people at that time were governed by. So when you pull out a scripture and just say, slaves, be obedient to your masters, you have to show me within the scriptures who were the slaves that they were talking about, and who, because you know the scriptures also tell you who are not supposed to be slaves. Are you familiar with that? No.
Okay, let's read. About Deuteronomy, where the promise
I'm talking about
if they were obedient.
I'm talking about Leviticus.
Hold on.
I'm talking about Leviticus.
Okay, or Leviticus, the promise of that first covenant.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. No, I'm talking about a literally law. Wait, hold on. Don't cut me off. Hold on. Let me explain to you. No, I'm going to explain it to you,
bro. Let me answer.
No. Listen. I listened to you patiently. I'm about to look. Listen. If I did ask you a question, it wasn't for you to answer it now. It's just something you could think about, just like you were going into what you were going into. Listen to me.
All right,
Leviticus 25. Okay, this is dealing with a law. We can go to the promises, because Israel was promised to be above all nations and still is. You can read that in the New Testament. But for the sake of time and for the sake of this topic, we're going to get the law of who can be your servant. That would throw out your whole narrative of the white man enslaving us in the first place, because according to the Bible, he has no authority to enslave us in the way that he did.
What?
Mama, let's read Leviticus 25 real quick. I'm going to get it in the scriptures. Leviticus 25, and I'm going to read verse 44. Shh, mama, be quiet. It says, Leviticus 25 and 44. Both thy bondmen, which is your slave men, and thy bondmaids, which is your slave women, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen, or if you want to say Gentile, that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. Moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which are begot in your land, and they shall be your possession, and ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule one over another with rigor. So according to the scriptures, the only qualification that we have, and we know Paul speaks to them that know the law, the only qualification we have according to the law that is qualified to be a servant or a slave will be somebody that is not an Israelite. So according to the Hebraic thought of the scriptures, your statement will be completely wrong because the white man is not an Israelite. He does not have the right to enslave anybody in the way that he did. Now, let me continue because you brought out a lot. You brought out a lot. The scriptures talk about.
If you move it to another point.
I'm addressing every point that you stated. Let me get the time to address every point that you stated. Okay.
Go ahead.
So that cuts that off already. Okay. According to the scriptures, your biblical slave can only be those of the heathen if you're an Israelite. So when Paul was talking about those slaves, he was not talking about Israelites in that matter. Now let's read Isaiah 10. And I'm going to read 1. Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1. It says, woe unto them that decree, woe means destruction. Woe unto them that decree unrighteousness decrees, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed, right? So a decree is a law. So when you say, yeah, the white man came into the Americas and he made decrees with the Native Americans or had laws or covenants with the Native Americans, every single covenant he had with them, he broke. That's the first one. And then he prescribed many unrighteous decrees. For example, one of the scriptures says, if you read and if you want to take the narrative, let's take the narrative of the slave narrative, right? Let's take King David, for example. When King David laid with I forgot the Uriah's wife, the Hittite, right? In that period of time, the Hittite would be considered a tributary unto David, which would mean that he would be some type of form of a slave, right?
Okay.
The Most High still judged David for laying with Uriah's wife. Now, according to slavery in America, they raped our women, they raped our wives, right? Which is, according to the Bible, is unlawful according to the Bible. Not only that, not only did they rape our women and they slept with our wives, which is against the law. The scriptures, which you just paraphrased, let me pull it out. Let's go to Micah 2:2 real quick. So the Bible condemns all the actions that the white man took. So I'm going to go to Micah 2:2, and you paraphrase the other scripture dealing with taking a man, right, from different lands. Okay, let me get this real quick. Excuse me. So Micah 2:2. It says, let's read Micah chapter 2, verse 2. It says, hear all ye people, hearken, O earth, and all that therein is, and let the Lord God be witness against you, and the Lord from his holy temple, right? So the Most High said, and this is Micah, I actually read 1 and 2 first. It said that this is a testimony to the world, right? That the Lord is against you. So this is what the book of Micah is talking about. It's talking about judgment, right? Upon the earth that the Most High is going to deliver. So when you read 2, and let's read 2 and 2. Actually, I'll start at 1. Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity. So when you look at the way our slavery was done, it was done in iniquity. Why? Because iniquity is any transgression against the law. And the white man did all types of transgressions according to the law against us as being Israelites. Whether you want to believe we're Israelites or not, he still did it wrong according to the biblical law and the biblical text. Because according to the biblical text, you cannot sleep with another man's wife. We know that he did annually rape and trade women from different slaves to different slaves as far as inbreeding. Okay, so we know that is iniquity. Also, he fed us abominable food, right? Which is pork and things of that nature according to the law. We know that that's iniquity. That is a sin. That is a transgression. So according to that, he's already fallen in judgment with the Bible. It says, and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields. What did the white man do? The white man stole lands. Covet means to desire something that is not yours. The Bible talks about coveting. What they did was they covet lands. They came to America. They coveted this land that was not theirs, that was originally Native Americans at first. They slaughtered millions of Native Americans. Some tribes, even today, remnants of them are not even alive because of the slaughtering and the massacre that they did to these people. They created covenants that we just read, unrighteous decrees, unrighteous laws, laws that said, oh, we'll give you this if you do this. And then they backstabbed them and then didn't honor that law. Okay. So we can see that according to the scriptures, they fall in line with judgment. It says, and they covet fields and take them by violence. When a white man came over here, he took all of this land that he has. He took every single piece of it by violence. Not only did he take it by violence, but he also took us from Africa by violence. If you want to say good Christian morals, you cannot sit here and tell me that the enslavement of so-called African-American people was righteous by God. The way that they did that was not righteous, just off of the strength that the slaves cannot be of Israelites, which we are, whether you believe it or not. But not even going that deep, just as simple as them not honoring the marriage bed according to the scriptures, just as simply as them not honoring castrating us, cutting off our genitals, pulling us apart with horses. Those things, you cannot say that was done with the love of Jesus Christ. If you say that, that will make you a hypocrite. If you're mad at me by calling you a house nigga and you're condemning me for calling you a house nigga, but you're okaying the murder of a people, which murder, unwrongful murder is against the law, right? It says, and they covet fields and take them by violence and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man and his heritage. So we know that they did that to the Native Americans. They took their heritage. A lot of them today claim Native Americans took their heritage and took their property. Now, let's read what the scriptures say, because you just said that they were justified, which they weren't justified in the way that they took us into slavery, and we have to obey them. But let's see what the Bible says. Real quick. Hold on. Let me get this real quick.
All right, go ahead and read it, man.
Yeah, yep. Let me read it. This is the scriptures. Don't be mad at this. Let's go to the New Testament.
I ain't mad at scriptures, bro.
Revelations 13.
It's hard to take you serious with all this assumptions.
I didn't assume nothing. I'm telling you what happened, and I'm reading the scriptures.
Tell me what I justified. You really
look,
have no.
Well, I'm going off of what you just said. You said that we can't fight against. Look, listen. If your whole narrative and your whole notion is that we can't fight against the white man because he was the owner of us, even in all the wrong that he did according to the Bible, and you're trying to say that we were wrong by rebelling against a man that did not accept the scriptures, and you're using the scriptures to say we were wrong to do that. But I'm showing you scriptures to show you that the way he took us into slavery was absolutely not justifiable according to the scriptures, which give us every right to rebel against him. So I'm gonna bring out two, and I'm gonna let you go.
Okay, fine.
Revelations 13.
Mm-hmm.
Revelation 13 and 10. He that leadeth into captivity. Did the white man lead us into captivity?
Bro.
Yes or no?
Not what you're talking about,
okay, bro. Let me just finish it. Let me finish it. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. So very simply, we know the white man led us into captivity. Very simple. He that killeth with a sword must be killed with the sword. We know that he killed us with a sword, and he kills us today with the modern day sword, which is a gun. We know that he did that in slavery. So guess what? We're justified. If he's killing us with a sword, we're justified to take that same sword and kill him with it, right? It says, here is the patience and the faith of the saints. The saints are the Israelites, which you can go to Isaiah 33, Jeremiah 15, and you can see who the saints are. We are the Israelites. We have every right to fight and in regards to him breaking the commandments and taking us into captivity, which he had no right according to the scriptures, according to the law. The bondmen that you speak of in the New Testament are not dealing with Israelites being subjugated to heathen nations, which the white man would be a heathen nation. And then this will be the last one. I'll bring this out. All scripture. Yes. Let's go to I want Ecclesiasticus. Ecclesiasticus. And I believe I want chapter. Hold on, bear with me. Ecclesiasticus chapter 3. Yep, I want that. So the scripture says, Ecclesiasticus chapter 3, I'll start at verse 3. It says, a time to kill and a time to heal. I'll read verse 1 first. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. So there's a season for everything under heaven. There's a balance within the scriptures. It says, and I'm gonna skip to what I want to get to the point. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. Let's keep reading because I want to get this one. Verse 8, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. So, in short, bringing out those precepts that combat everything that you said. For one, your first point is that we have to obey our masters. Well, according to the scriptures, we cannot be subservient to heathen. They only can be our bondmen. Israelite cannot be slaves, according to the Bible, the biblical narrative. Okay. We know that Paul speaks to them that knows the law. So if you're reading Paul's words, he's talking to those that understand the law, have a understanding